Hey guys, and welcome to episode 13 of CUBED, the Marvel Snap podcast. And tonight we have the group back together. Can you give me some clappies, Don?
What's the clap?
Is-
Yeah.
Wait, is Don frozen?
Yes, apparently my video is frozen, but I'm here.
It's it has him deep in thought. So I don't know if you want to fix it, but we'll keep rolling until your audio is good. So I do like this look. It just has you really deep in thought. So tonight we have the group back together. Don is actually there. It's just if you are watching, it's just his camera froze. So
It's a picture. It's not really.
so we have Don, aka DarkHelmit, and we have Bok Choy, aka Dakota. So how's everybody doing tonight?
There is no Don. There's only Zool.
There's only DarkHelmit. I'm good, man.
I will say it is kind of tough because I don't know when you're gonna talk now, Don.
Surprise.
So, well, tonight we're actually going to be covering, it might not be a long show, but we'll see. I know we always say that, but we kind of go on for about an hour, sometimes an hour 20. But tonight we're going to be covering the most recent OTA that we just had. And then we'll go over the White Widow, the card from last week. And we'll go into Valentina de Fontaine, tomorrow's card that is coming out. So with that said, I kind of want to start with the update or the OTA. So we got quite a few cards changed. We got 2, 4, 6 cards changed, and they all don't. I mean, 2 of them were the most recent cards this month. So first of all, how do you guys feel about them either buffing or nerfing cards that came out earlier in this month? Let's start with you, Dakota.
It's kind of frustrating because if you're saving up your tokens, because you want to just buy it, you don't want to deal with the spotlight, or if you're saving up your keys to get a card and then have it in the same season change, it's really frustrating. Like I get it, right? We all kind of saw what was going to happen with the Red Hulk, but maybe they should have fixed it before they dropped it.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems like it could be a broken card. We all see that. That's why we wanted it, right? Because hey, this is going to be good in any deck. So it's a little frustrating that they keep dropping cards and then immediately nerfing it. Like they did this with Mobius. They did this with trying to think other cards that just keeps getting this backhand. And I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the other ones at the moment. Mobius is one for sure. And I don't know. It's a little frustrating, to say the least.
How about yourself, Don?
Man, I'm so upset. I'm not even going to share my video, and I'm just going to look over here all night. Nah, in reality. Look, when this card came out, right, let's talk about Red Hulk. It came out, we all knew this card's immediately getting nerfed, right? It is just too much. Now, it was interesting the route they went to nerf it. Personally, I thought that they were going to go maybe reduce the amount of power that it gets per energy not spent.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they just decided, hey, we'll just drop it 2 power.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much that's actually helped, but it does seem like it's helped a little bit in the whole situation. At least this card is still viable with this nerf. Like, versus other cards where you've just gotten these really crappy things that have happened to them, right? Or, for instance, I'd rather spend the 6,000 on this one than I would on other cards like, I don't know, Pixie, which is going to be like the card that I just harp on from now until eternity. The fact that it's a tier or a
Pull 5.
group 5 card,
Yeah.
and here we are, just ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like them kind of nerfing cards that they released earlier in the month, it kind of shows a lack of a lack of attention to detail for the devs, especially because they're supposed to play test these cards before releasing them, right? So either the developers don't have somebody that's good enough to play, or they're not spending enough time actually playing the card, you know? So it's kind of worrisome because when they release cards like this, and like you guys mentioned, you spend your resources, hard earned or hard bought, you know, like you don't just get money out of nowhere, right? You got to work for money. Somebody's got to work for that money, right? Especially that the prices that they're charging right now, you know? So either way, you're spending resources that are difficult to obtain either way. And for it to change just later in the month, like if you buy, you know, I'm going to go to like a AAA game, right? If you buy a AAA game and they, you know, they change it, like say they maybe not drastically change it, but say they change the AAA game to suck a little bit more, right? It would feel like, hey, wow, that wasn't the price point I was expecting. That wasn't what I was buying, you know? So it's kind of shady as a business to do. I mean, I'm not saying it's shady to have OTAs. I agree that there should be OTAs to make the metas fresh, to buff cards, to nerf cards that are doing well. Now, for it to have an effect on cards that are just being released, it is very worrisome with the state of the game, because like I said, you go into it trying to buy a Lamborghini and then you end up with a freaking Honda, you know. And I can say that I drive a Honda, so I do know a Lamborghini is an upgrade. So it sucks. But you know, it is what it is. I hope they do better in playtesting their cards. So without further ado, I do want to go into the OTA. The first card, of course, is the one that Don mentioned, is Red Hulk. So he changed from a 6'11" to a 6'9". Nothing else changed. He still gets +4 power every time an opponent ends a turn without any unspent energy. So Don, go. If you could go a little into this on what do you think about the change on this card?
Honestly, before we get to this card, I do want to address something else though.
Oh yeah,
when
yeah.
we're
Go ahead.
talking about the cards, right?
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
I actually think it's good that they changed this card as quick as they did, right?
Okay.
Because you saw it taking such a big share of the meta.
Yes.
I think the problem is you see them nerf cards so quickly, but they never buff cards quickly, right?
That's very true.
That's where I feel actually I get ripped off a little bit more, because like, look, this card, like, let's jumping into it, right? It's still a 6'9", right? It has the potential, if they don't spend 2 energy, to be a 6'17", right? That is really good power, right? To play on one turn. It still has a lot of use. I think this is actually a better look at what this card should have been versus what it was before, right? Because you could see, okay, it popped off once, right? And you could see that the energy popped off for the other player. They're like, okay, now I know I need to spend all of my energy every turn to keep this from getting bigger.
Yeah. Now, sorry, would you have gotten this card if it came out as a 6'9"?
I think so. Like, looking at the card, hey, look, I'm working.
I know, you just, I was like, oh my God, his mouth is...
Anyway, he's back.
Yeah, so go ahead. So would you have bought this card?
I would have definitely still gotten this card, right? Like I said, if it was 6'9" to begin with, hey. But then also, like, the fact that it keeps increasing if you don't use it, and you see Hope out there still a lot, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this card is still a great card, right? You still run into it out there in the meta. yeah, I don't see I see this obviously as a nerf, but I think this is actually a good thing that they reacted as quickly as they did versus, not buffing cards as quickly as they really should be.
Okay. How about yourself, Dakota? How do you feel about the nerf on this card?
Well, like I said, I was getting frustrated because it's just like I feel like every time something comes out, it gets smacked.
Mm,
But in the truth is with this card, bringing it down to what it is now, it still won't stop it, right?
mm,
And Don had a good point with that, and so I agree with him. After hearing his take on it, I guess I'm a little heated just because I'm getting sick of them doing this all the time. But yeah, he's right. At the end of the day, that's it's really not a dead card at all. I mean, you're still going to be winning games. It's better than the Blob right now in the current meta, just
mm.
because we have mill decks out there and your likelihood of having a massive blob at the end is not really going to be there as much
Yeah.
as your ability to just continually grow because your opponent is passing on energy. So, yeah, it's still going to have a stronghold. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not done getting nerfed. They'll probably make it like only a +3 or something like that, or maybe even just a +2 in the soon to be. I wouldn't be surprised at all by that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, here we are with it. I would be curious to see how long it takes before it gets hit again. My prediction, I'm going to say the next OTA, it's going to get hit again.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's very bold. So, so I don't know. I think like this. Yes, they did nerf it fast. But going back to what I was saying before, I feel like if they play tested it more, they would have seen, okay, this is actually what it should have been released at. Because I agree, I still would have bought it at a 6.9, just for the numbers alone.
Nice.
But the effect alone, +4, you skip one turn. If this card is in your hand, turn 1, you skip one turn, it becomes a 613. Like, I'm trying to think of like cards that are 613. I can't really think of anything 613. I don't think they're 613, but there's stuff stronger, definitely. But this one card alone, it's insane. It's also a deterrent. Like, I've had games where I see it, and then in the back of my head, I'm just like, geez, I gotta keep playing cards. I gotta keep using my energy, because turn 6 they could just throw down the Red Hulk. Now, they don't always throw down the Red Hulk because it's not always the optimal move, but
Yeah.
it's something in the back of your mind. You're like, God, it's in their hand, right? So it's a deterrent, which is really good. And on top of that, like, is Red Hulk, just a question. I don't know if you guys ever read Hulk comics. Do you know if Red Hulk is actually supposed to be stronger than Hulk?
I don't think he's stronger, but he does pull energy, which is kind of like the card. So, I mean,
Oh, he does?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
he does
he
take
absorbs energy?
Yes.
That's okay. I didn't know that. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, that's very interesting. Didn't know that. So it does what the character does in the comics as well. Now I could see what you were saying. It going to a +3. That, and I wouldn't mind it staying at a 6.9, just because if you skip one turn, it becomes like the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
So it's on par with the Hulk. Now evolved Hulk is another question, right? And going into evolved Hulk, we don't get to see that. So we don't get to see when the opponent draws it. We don't know how long it's been there, if it's gaining power. So that one, that kind of keeps. But I think if you see that they're playing Evo, you kind of know that they have it, I guess. But that's the trade, right? So I feel like it going down to 6.9 and changing it to a +3, at least it's comparable to the Hulk.
Yeah.
So any additional things you guys want to add on Red Hulk?
You know what I would like to see? Like, if they're going to nerf it,
Yeah.
I think this would be a kind of a cool idea. I think the first turn, it actually gains 2 energy, right? Then the next turn it gains 3, and then the next one it gains 4. So like it's one of those things that the more you ignore it, the bigger of an issue it becomes. But at least that first one doesn't feel crazy, right?
Now I have I'll play devil's advocate. What if it gains 2, right? The very first turn. What happens if you actually use all your energy, but the next turn you skip energy? Does it gain 3 or does it gain 2 again?
Gain 3. So each turn that you would.
Okay, so it goes higher.
Each time it would go up.
I see. That's very interesting.
That's genius. Hire this man.
Coding
I don't know how you would code that out.
Yeah. Coding that would be kind of weird.
One of those things where it's not quite as punitive the first time you miss it, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you also know it's there. But now you know if you don't do something, that's on you.
Okay. So what do you think? They buff it to 610 and then it does that effect? Because one skip makes it a Hulk, right? So at least you're like, okay, good. Whoa. I got to start playing my energy. Now, if you don't, it becomes a stronger than the Hulk.
But even a 611, like even that's a solid 6-play card, right?
That's yes,
like,
I guess.
In the sense of like, okay, there's a good chance they're not going to use all of their energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, with hope around, a lot of people are having extra energy, and this is kind of a way to punish them. So I mean, 611, it's kind of a weird stat to me, though. 611. I feel like 612 is like where like even numbers, but
it is a weird stat. But the thing is what's the downside on this card?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at all the other cards that are right around that, like the recent cards. Even something like the Blob, right? He takes a bunch of cards from your deck and destroys them.
That's true.
You look at, well, first of all, the Hulk, unless you have Evo there, he's just 12.
612 beat stick, yeah.
Right. I think it fits right into a good spot where, again, it's not overpowering, but it is a good stat line overall. And if you screw up, then boom, it's there.
That's true. I can see that happening. I mean, I think the only thing I would say about that is they wouldn't do that just for the coding thing, They're like, that's way too hard. You're like, oh man, I have to add more lines to this code? Heck no. Have to change it to like an exponential code.
What if they change it to where the Hulk doesn't need Evo? He does that ability because it's the Hulk. And if Red Hulk is taking energy from someone else and beefing up, why doesn't the Hulk just on his own? And instead, put Giganto in that place.
Okay.
Make him go up.
So
high Evo thing, or change it around for something where he could be in the high Evo deck. Give him a different ability. But I think the Hulk should be able to do that without high Evo.
Okay, you bring up a good question, and I'm gonna reword this question for you so it's all encapsulating.
Okay.
Do you guys feel that non-effect cards should have existed?
Yeah, I think they still should exist, and the main reason is because there's a whole deck built on there's a whole deck built on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you have Patriot, that is the deck that is built. Now, do I think that necessarily some of the cards that are non-effect or should be non-effect? No, they're definitely, some of them should be. Some of them should have effects, right? Like the Hulk. Come on, like that should be a pretty badass card, and without high Evo, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even we mess around about talking about like canonically, right? Really, the Hulk and high Evo? Come on.
I was saying the same thing about like Cyclops. Cyclops is such a good card, or good character that for him not to have an effect for so long, it was so weird. Now, how would you change this then? Like, what cards do you think should be stripped of their effect, become non-effect cards, and work with high Evo?
I think what you do is you
Because like things that I could maybe like Rocket Raccoon, maybe, you know, maybe it would make Guardians pretty good, where like they don't all have the same effect. Because I think that's got to be the most laziest design, right? Where all the Guardians are the same effect, just different power, different cost. Where not all the Avengers have the same effect. Why are you lumping in the Guardians with the same kind of, like, I feel like it could have been better, and it would be cool to see that all the Guardians became like, I keep wanting to say colorless cards, but like effectless cards. And then their effects are brought out by like, high Evo.
I got a better solution.
Let's go.
Okay. We're making the high Evo deck, right?
Yes.
So here's what happens. You put high Evo in your deck, and every card in the deck, right, mutates into some experiment, right? Some random experiment card. So now you just have a high Evo with 12 random ass cards that do various effects.
So
and in that, so basically your deck, your high Evo would kind of like at the beginning of the turn, right? It just morph your deck into an experiment. Okay? It's a bunch of cards that have, and basically what it does, it'll shuffle the abilities of those 12 cards and the cost of those 12 cards.
Oh. So it's basically
pixie.
Yeah, it's
except what you would do is you would create, a solid like 11 cards, right? That do some really cool stuff. And
You
then
become that what you hate.
except better.
I like it, but the only thing that I don't like about it is that it's not. I know it is related to what High Evo does, but then it kind of makes it a one card deck, right? You're just like, okay, well, I'm playing High Evo, so building a deck, it doesn't matter what card you put in it, right? I think there has to be some type of deck building that you still need into it. So that's why I do like what he does now, because he does unlock effects, but I just think it's for the wrong cards.
No idea. Instead of completely getting rid of the deck, right? Basically, he has a 6-card rotation, right? And he gets 3 experiments that are put into your deck, right?
Nico?
Except that this would be kind of like a mix between Nico and I was thinking Thanos.
So he shuffles like 3 experiments into the deck.
Yes.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. It's like Teefs, the otter girl, and then the bunny.
Yeah. So, but each one does something different, right?
And then in the end of the game, they die. No,
I don't know. I don't know why we're theory crafting over here.
Like,
I'm sorry.
No.
I said the hot take thing and it's put us on a tangent. It was just something
We
that
got way down this rabbit hole.
It's my fault. I love you guys. My bad.
No, it's a really good hot take, just because, coming into the game when High Evo wasn't released, I always thought, why doesn't the Hulk have an effect? Why doesn't, Cyclops have an effect? Why doesn't Wasp, Like, were they, they couldn't think of one, so they're just like, let's create effectless cards, right? Or non-effect cards. That way, and then we'll make Patriot, where he's going to affect, cards with no abilities. Now, I guess Patriot is to inspire. He inspires the normal people. That's why he buffs. I don't know, but those aren't normal people. those are some of the best characters in the Marvel's universe. So it always confused me.
Yeah, for Hulk to not have an ability is really strange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Thing doesn't have one either, right? Someone who
Mm-hmm.
also is very strong. But then I guess it just comes down to the big question of like, well, what would it have?
I mean, their effects right now are good, but drawing the ability to draw high Evo is such a dead card, right? Like you can't really do anything with it. Sometimes I guess it's good because it's a 4/4 beat stick, but other than that, I mean, it's kind of just a card to put in the deck to use the better cards, the better effects. And these effects should have been with the cards already. Like, man, the Thing's effect, Wasp's effect, all those effects are all really good. I gotta say, the devs did really good on each of their effects. It's just why, why, why was that needed? I don't know. I don't know how to word it any better.
I feel you, man. They need to nerf Quicksilver too.
Yeah. or maybe like that, like one of the cards, that need a buff, high Evo buffs them in some way. Like you just mentioned Quicksilver, you could throw in Captain America in there. So it's just like, we buffed it, but you got to play high Evo to get the buff.
Imagine.
Oh man. All right, so that was our 5-10 minute tangent there.
Sorry.
So the second card.
3 hours later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got it.
2,000 years later.
All right. So the next card that they actually buffed was USA Agent. The way the card
USA,
reads.
USA, USA, baby.
So US Agent.
Red, white, blue.
And this is another card that came out this month. So, I mean, yes, they're buffing it, but I don't know. It's another thing. So he goes from giving 4, 5, and 6 costs -3 power to giving 4, 5, and 6 costs -4 power. So this is and it becomes it's always an ongoing. So how do you feel about the change on this card, Don?
About the same as before. It's a very niche card. I'm not sure that the fact that one extra negative power really does too much, since like we talked about before, this card actually only affects those higher cost cards. How often do you stack those really high cost cards in one lane?
Mm-hmm.
Other than if you're playing, the Tribunal deck, right? Any other time, you're not really stacking. So I don't see we're gonna see that much more play out of this card.
Okay, how about yourself, Dakota?
I agree with Don on that one big time. You're really rarely going to be able to just put all those higher costs in one lane. And if you see that they're starting to run a deck that looks like they're going to be putting out US Agent, you just try to play around it, So, yeah, it's a niche card. Not the best.
Okay. Yeah, so I did leave a comment for one of our I responded to a comment that we had in our Instagram that, somebody based one of their decks around US Agent. And I find that really hard to build around him just because he is a 2/3. So 2 costs 3 power. Like if you play him on turn 2, the opponent will just avoid it, right? Like, sorry, I had to burp. And if and then if you play it late, then say you play it on either turn 4, 5, 6, that means on turn 4, 5, 6 you could play a 2, 3, 4, along with US Agent. So that means you're kind of losing out on playing a good turn by having to play this card. So having the -4 power there, I don't know, like honestly, if it's non-Shang-Chiable, then you just beat it with power, right? It's not like you beat it by subtracting power from it. You kind of want it to go high so that you can Shang-Chi it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's such a weird, and like Don mentioned, a niche card. Like I don't see it much, and if any at all. I did see a lot of it when I tried to play Tribunal, and it seems like it was just a counter for that. So it's kind of weird.
Agreed. Still better than Captain America.
Oh, definitely. Unfortunately. So the next card that they buffed was Jean Grey. She went from a 3/3 to a 3/4. Go ahead and tell us about this one, Dakota.
She went from a 3/3 to a 3/4. Yeah, so I mean, you're gonna get a little extra power in that lane. That's great. But I still feel like when it comes down to your control, Ben, you're probably gonna want to do something a little differently. Storm would be my go-to instead of her, which just because I never have the luck when I play her. I never get the cards that allows me to like fill the lane and move on. So it just doesn't work as well for me. Yeah. So I mean, interesting. I don't know if they're doing this because there's something coming up that they want to have more of this control style in the next season or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah.
How about yourself, Don?
Sad to say, but I love this card. Like, it's so much fun when you're playing
Wait, why is it sad?
just some really meme decks. Like,
Oh, okay.
man, I love grabbing this card and putting all the Guardians in.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to pop those Guardians off, right? And it's just fun to do. I'm glad that they added a little bit more power. Again, I'm not sure control-wise this is going to do too much. But I'll tell you what, I'll take that extra power. And
Yep.
I really, really enjoy just messing around with this card.
Yeah, so I feel that the buff to this card, she wasn't really getting any play. And I know that you mentioned the Guardians deck. I know you made a Guardians deck that really helped you and you're having fun with it, Don. So, yeah, it's nice that they are buffing cards that aren't seeing too much play. That way, players that just want to mess around, like they reach infinite and they just want to have fun, right? So, it's cool that they're doing that. Now, it wasn't a useless card by all means. So I'm kind of wondering how they go around picking the cards that they need to buff while, still skipping some. So I don't know. Jean Grey is a good card. It's always been a good card. You weren't really using it for its power, but I guess it helps contend the lane. So, I mean, I don't know what more they were really going for on that one, but it is what it is. It still does the same thing, and yeah, next one. So the next one is Stature. So they changed her from a 5'6" to a 5'7". So not too much there with that. Still does the same effect. A 1/7 wouldn't be too bad when playing this. Like if your opponent discards a card, playing a 1/7 is not bad, because a 1/7 would be like playing a what's his name, the alien looking one,
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. It's like playing an Ebony Maw without having the Ebony Man. Yeah, without having the downside of locking the lane, right? So, cool buff. Dakota, you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's interesting that they went for it. Discard definitely has a strong hold in the meta still, so it's interesting that they would do something like this to increase your chances to. Well, I guess not interesting. It's cool that they're trying to get you another style to build yours. Like if you're fighting a lot of discard people in your meta, this is just another little trick in the pocket, little tool in your belt.
Okay.
So yeah, that's cool with me. Like I said, everything right now we're having power inflation. So the things that they did where they brought a lot of cards down, we're seeing them bring those cards back up because they're introducing cards that just get stupidly big. So it makes sense to me that they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. How about yourself, Don?
I mean, this is just the card sending back to where it started, right?
Yeah.
Because they nerfed it when the good cards deck was really controlling the meta.
Yes.
And so this is just putting her back to where she belongs. I like that, you know, it's back to a 5/7. It's really useful if you're playing a couple different cards. It makes, you know, cards like Black Bolt and
Moon Knight.
Silver Samurai a little more viable to play with. So it's good. I like it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. It's a good change. Like you guys said, just moving her back to what she was. I actually forgot she started at that because of the good cards. Yeah, you're right. So it's been a while since that's actually been relevant. So, you know, it is what it is. She's back to where she is. The next one they change is Mantis. So they changed her from a 2/2 to a 1/2. So have you guys been using this card at all?
No.
No? Okay. So how do you feel about the change on the card, Don?
Again, it's pretty much the same. Like I meh.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anything for me.
Okay.
Like, if I'm playing a Guardians deck, I'm typically not playing this one in the first place. I'd much rather play Rocket Raccoon than Manus. I could see it being useful for like if you're playing a, you know, steal a card from the opponent kind of hand or deck. But the truth of the matter is this is such a crapshoot that, yeah.
Okay. How about yourself, Dakota?
Yeah, I think that there's better cards that you don't really. You have 12 slots. This one does not fit the bill. I don't see that going into any of them. Earlier pools, yeah. I mean, Mantis, when you first got her, she was like, "Oh, sweet, here we go. We're able to mess with the enemy a little bit." They've changed the text a lot from when we started the game to what it is now. I still just don't see its relevance. I don't know at what point you would want to play this card to steal whatever that your opponent's doing because you know you're relying too much on what they're doing. And
Yeah.
I see this card as kind of a meh.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Like, to play this card, you'd have to read your opponent very well. I would say this card is probably good against destroy, just because you know what they're gonna do. Like if you know they're gonna only play Venom in the lane, it'd be cool. It's cool to play Mantis in the same lane, and then you copy their Venom that gets huge. Now, other than that, you know, you don't know when they're gonna play Death. You don't. I mean, you could count like, oh, okay, yeah, they destroyed enough cards to play Death, but where are they gonna play it? Where are they gonna play Null? And on top of that, you're only copying the card. It's not like Leader, where you're also putting it on your side, right? So if you play this turn 6, you better hope you have a turn 7 because you just got another card for no reason. So for you to copy that card and not be able to play it, it's not as useful as some cards. So I mean, the only deck I could see it being used in is probably Loki. But there's, like you guys said, there's so much better cards that Loki can have and you don't have to play a guess. You don't have to play, you know, guesstimation. So I don't know. It's such a weird card to play already. But I guess putting it at a 1, it makes it more rewarding, right? So you not having to use so much energy to play the card and guess wrong, you don't feel so bad. So, I mean, it's kind of like the Guardians, where like if you play Rocket Raccoon, you don't feel as bad if you miss Rocket Raccoon as you feel bad missing a Gamora. So. That's a thing there, but it does have a Guardian synergy where you still have to guess the opponent's lane. So, Now, the last card that they buffed was Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor, and she just changed from an 8 power to a 9 power. So, Dakota, have you messed with the Asgardian deck at all?
I actually just built one about maybe an hour ago before we started doing this. When I got home, I wanted to mess around with it because I got beat by one pretty good.
Really?
Or pretty bad. It was bad. It was bad.
It was so bad it was good?
Yeah, I mean, that additional, yeah, it was real good. And that additional power, I mean, it's not insane, but it's enough. So it's exciting to see. Like I said, we're in that power inflation. Everything's beat. So it's kind of cool to have that little additional pump. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Okay. How about yourself, Don? How do you feel about the change?
I mean, anytime you can give a card a little bit more power, I like it. So, if you look at it compared to, like, let's say, Thor himself, right? He starts as a 3/4. He does his Mjolnir one time. He becomes a 3/10, right? Um, I think this is a good. Like, it's right in that nice little power. It's a little bit better than the 5 turns when you're playing against stuff like Modok or something like that. So it just gives you that extra little bit. And as we know, there's way too many games you lose by 1 power. Having this to kind of help control a lane is nice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. For me, I felt like it was unnecessary. I mean, a lot of it was unnecessary, but I feel like they were looking for things to buff, which I think the community has kind of made it very loud and clear on what they should look into. But like you mentioned, on where 1 power does make a difference. But with the decks that this runs in, so the decks I could think of that I used were the Asgardians deck, which wherever you're playing Thor or Beta Ray Bill are the lanes you're going to try and win, right? You're not going to try and win a Jane Foster lane. So for them to buff her, I mean, yeah, it's 1 power, doesn't really do anything major, but you do win some games like that. And then the other one is negative. So you're running this in a negative deck. I mean, I guess it makes your Iron Man play way better. So I don't know. I'm for the buffs. 1 power here and there, like you were mentioning, Dakota. This is becoming a it's bigger numbers. We're getting bigger numbers. So I guess they're kind of straying away from these lower numbers, but it makes the cards that are at that lower tier kind of hard to contest these newer cards. So that's unfortunate, but I'm here for the fun of the game. And hopefully, even if they go with bigger numbers, it means bigger fun. We're not trying to wait. We're not trying to make
yeah, fun, baby.
Because it's crazy to see those games that exponentials where it's just like it's so negative that it was busted, or it's so positive that it's busted, right? So hopefully they're not creating more ways to do that, but buffs are good. Nerfs are because they made the card too good. So I guess I don't know. So we'll go into the card of last week, and that was White Widow. So for those of you that don't know, it's just I'll just go ahead and read it. It's a 2-cost, 2 power. On reveal, add a Widow's Kiss to your opponent's side of this location. And the Widow Kiss is a 0/0, but it becomes a -4 if the lane isn't filled. But once the lane is filled, it goes back to 0/0. So how have you done with this card, Don?
I've done pretty well. It's really fun to play in some of those junk decks around. It's just another way to fill up a little bit more power. I mean, we're seeing this card everywhere, which is kind of annoying, but at the same time, it's worked out pretty well.
Mm.
I thought originally that something like this card with Grandmaster would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
The one that I see pretty often that works well is using it with um, Beast. You beast it back. You can drop it in another lane that you choose, and it works pretty well. So
Hmm.
it's been an interesting card. I'm ready to see what's up next.
That's very interesting that you mentioned that, like it being used with Beast, because it kind of does the same thing, right? You could play it again. Grandmaster, you wouldn't have to use another energy to play it, but also Grandmaster is a 2-cost 0 power, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So having that 0 power in a lane is very detrimental, where as Beast at least gives you 2 power. So he adds something to the lane. So it is very interesting, just because if you do fill up the lane, it goes to the Widow's Bite goes to a 0-0. So it kind of makes that you filling up that lane kind of unnecessary. But I think that is a pretty cool option that you have. I've seen a lot of what is it, Annihilus decks play with this card, and it's been annoying to say the least. But I think that annoying deck types are a necessary factor in these games, because you can't just have people stacking the same lane over and over, getting away with it, especially with this Angela meta, where like if they play Angela, they're going to keep playing into it. So White Widow's a nice deterrent from them keeping to do that. So I'm here for it. I get annoyed by it, but I feel like it's a necessary evil. So how about yourself, Dakota?
Man, I've been loving this card. This card has been so much fun. I've been doing the exact deck you're talking about with Annihilus. I'm not doing the junk route
Yeah.
to the point where I'm like throwing goblins and stuff. But I am using debris, so I use like the Hood, Korg, Beast. I got Carnage, White Widow, Black Widow, Debris, Rock Slide, Sentry, Darkhawk, Annihilus, and Mockingbird.
Is that the
It
cozy
is
one?
nasty because, like Don said with Beast, oh my gosh! Like if you throw her out there, right? So turn one, you're throwing out your Hood.
Hold on.
Then you
Is
throw
that
her
is
in
that
lane.
the is that the cozy
What'd you
one?
say? That's the cozy one,
Oh, okay,
dude.
okay.
My man. Oh, that is a really fun deck. Because, like I said, you put those two down, you beast it back. The great thing is at that point, too, I've been facing a lot of Ronin decks in my meta. I don't know about you guys or not, but it's funny because you'll bring back your stuff and they try to get you a master mold, and there ain't much to fill at that point. So it's like, haha, got your bitch ass. And then you go ahead and drop them again on the other lanes. Like it's been really fun just to fill things up. This negative power, and you got your Nihilus play. If you don't have that, you're also beefing them up with you got Korg, Rock Slide. It's been really fun, and I've stolen a lot of cubes with this. It's been very very fun for me. I've been thoroughly enjoying this card. And not to mention something that I wanted to bring up and just making me laugh on all like the different people I've been watching them when they talk about the widow kiss. It sounds like they're saying widow kiss, and it's been cracking me up, man. It reminds me of the Nacho Libre, the hug hug, keys, widow keys. Killing me.
Now,
So, yeah, no, I like this card.
now overall, do you guys feel like this card is good where it's at? Needs a buff? Needs a nerf?
I think it's pretty good where it's at. It does exactly what it's supposed to, right? If you play into it, it just takes up a spot. If you don't play into it, then you lose power. I think it's great.
All right. So
100%.
this is one for the devs.
Pop, pop!
Pop, pop.
Good job, devs.
So good job, devs, on the card. I agree. This card is it has a downside for the opponent, but they could get rid of the downside, which is you want to leave counterplay to almost every card, because that's how cards become overpowered if they don't have counterplay. So it's great that the counterplay was actually built into the card's effect. So it's a really good balanced card, and I feel like it's a really good card. I don't know. I looked at the variant and I was like, ooh, gosh, it's a really good card.
Down.
Oh, it's getting warm.
All right. So the card coming out tomorrow is Valentina de Fontaine. I think that's her name. So let me go ahead and read it for anybody that is just listening. It is a 2-cost, 3 power. And the effect is an on reveal, add a random 6-cost card to your hand, give it -2 cost and -3 power. Let's start with you, Dakota. How do you feel this card will change the meta, or what kind of decks would you use it in?
So, because of its unpredictability, I feel like the best bet for a deck that's running this card is going to have to be OG Loki.
Yep.
And I hate Collector. I don't know if I've expressed this or not, but I get so annoyed when I see this fool. He just growing in power, and it's like, oh, I hate this guy. He's going to be used. We're going to utilize him, and I think that this has a good synergy with that. I'm excited to see exactly what we can do, because its downside is it's going to lose some power here and there, but you got some better cost. I want to ask you guys, can you Shadow King your own side on that and bring it back to its base power?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have an issue with some of these cards, if you don't want to Loki and get rid of them, you have that route. You could even do Luke Cage. So I feel like there's some good abilities here, and obviously you're going to want to put Triple M Mobius in this, because that way you're not going to lose that -2 cost, because I feel like people are going to be cheeky and try to throw some crap out there. But yeah, no, in all honesty, I'm really excited for this card. Now, my normal track record when I get excited for a card, it usually is not the best for me, so I won't be surprised if I just completely get destroyed with this. But yeah, I'm excited for the Valentina. It's going to be a good time.
Okay. And real quick, how many keys do you think it's going to take for you to pull it?
Well, it took me all 4 to get the last one. And if I'm following my luck, it's going to, again, like I said last time, it took me 5. Watch, somehow it'll take me 6. No, I'm hoping for 1. But
okay. I mean,
everybody lucky. I'm thinking 2.
Okay. Yeah, everybody hopes for 1, right?
Yes.
Unless you want, the other spotlight cards. I'll pull that up, what's going to be in the spotlight. But how about for you, Don? How do you feel about how's this card going to be doing?
This is going to be a fun card. It's going to sit a lot of RNG. I do think either a Loki deck, or even, I might swing back around to kind of an old school shield deck and throw in a little Devil Dinosaur. I haven't seen him around for a while, so I think it could be interesting. Think about the kind of 6-cost cards that you can either get. You're either gonna get something awesome or you're gonna get something awful, and that should be fun. Even getting a -4 power leader might be interesting.
Yeah. So
and if you have your Quinjet out, right?
Yep.
Now you're not talking about a 4 cost. You're talking about a 3-cost 6 power card.
Yep.
So there could be some really interesting things that go out. Like, let's say you pull the Blob, right? That's great. You get a 12-cost card, and you can play it at level. You can play it at turn 3, the next turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it seems like the thing is going to be Quinjet, Valentina, and then the 6 cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I feel like this card is going to be cool. Like, the decks that you guys did already mention, they'll work there. I can't see it coming out with its own deck, because it's a roulette card, right? Like, roulette cards typically don't have decks that center around it. It's just to support other cards like Collector, like Loki, like Devil Dinosaur. Those are actually the main ones that would benefit off this. So it's going to be pretty cool to see another card added to that. Not too sure what you would switch it out for, because I mean, I don't know. There's this one card. What's the card with the girl with the bow?
Mirage.
Mirage. I was like, starts with an M. You know, it's a 2 cost as well.
Zelda.
It is another 2 cost card where, you know, it gets you a card, but it also buffs the card, right? So this one gives you a strong card, but it nerfs the card. But these nerfs can be taken care of, like you mentioned, Shadow King with Luke Cage. So those are going to be major players in this new Loki. I think it's going to be a new Loki deck, you know. So it's going to be like Loki. Of course, everyone keeps Coulson in it. What is it? Quinjet, Valentina, Mobius, Luke Cage. Did I say Shadow King already?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so maybe Shadow King. Like it is. Shadow King is actually not necessary to be in there, but I feel like because if you just have Luke Cage, it counteracts everything.
Oh yeah.
So now, how would you guys rate this card, 1 to 10?
I give it like
I
a
think-
5.
Okay.
I think because of the randomness, I think it could be maybe a 6 or 7, to be honest. I think because you're going to get the discount,
Yeah.
you're never going to know what they pull when they do it, which means you got to think about, okay, what 6 cost did they pull? Was it great or was it awful?
Destroyer.
Did
Every time.
we know if Red Hulk was going to actually show to the opponent ahead of time? We didn't know that, right?
Oh, can you imagine pulling a Red Hulk?
That would be good, but the thing is, like, it doesn't say that the opponent won't see what you pull, right? But I mean, typically they don't. But it didn't also say for the Hulk that the Red Hulk would show to your opponent. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not going to show your opponent because Mirage does. Well, Mirage, you could guess who it is, or narrow it down, but it doesn't show. Dang it! What's the Shield lady's name? Maria Hill. Maria. It doesn't show what Maria Hill pulls, so it's going to be very interesting on how often you're going to see this card, because I think people are going to pull for it. Now, for this week, the cards that come out with it in the spotlights are Valentina, Blob, and Null. So she's actually surrounded herself with some 6 cost cards. 6-0. That's pretty funny. So, what do you guys think about this week's spotlight?
What do the variants look like?
Oh, let me pull it up. So,
Hey, Paulie, pull it up. Come on.
so these are the variants. So we have the Blob Luchador and the Null variant. Not in love with any of them except the Valentina and Victor Faro. So I don't know if I'm gonna get it. I might.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of them, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the null variant's cool, but yeah.
The Null variant. So, okay. So supposedly, I'm just gonna go into this real quick. So supposedly they are going to be re-releasing things that have been in the spotlight, like spotlight caches, or sorry, spotlight. Spotlight caches, right? Yeah, they were. Yeah. So, the very first one, was, I believe, the Null one, if I'm not mistaken.
The good one with
The
Null
good
and
one.
Tribunal, right?
So supposedly, in about a month and a half, the anniversary for spotlights. Can you believe it's the anniversary for spotlights already?
Jeez, man. Time
Really?
is flying.
Yeah. So June is when they started to release spotlight caches, which is kind of amazing because it's already been a year since they've introduced that. I mean, it is a better system than we've had before. I think. I don't know. Maybe What do you guys think? Do you think overall it was a better system?
I think it's a better system if we didn't have to spend so much to get enough tokens. I mean, well, sorry, you guys. I pull it on the first time every time. But you guys,
Yes.
you guys, I'm upset because you know. Yeah.
You're upset for me. I
Yeah.
appreciate that because I'm upset for
Fight
me.
for my life.
So, sorry. They did do the math. It takes about 6,000 credits to get one key. 3,000 if you're upgrading grays, but 6,000 is regular. So, and if you're upgrading grays, you need to upgrade 120 to get that. 120 cards that you have in the gray. So that's not possible unless you're like buying every variant so often.
I don't know who could do that.
Not us.
Oh, hi.
So yeah, so it takes 6,000 to get one key. So that means for you to actively pull, for people say get 4 keys before you pull. That means you need to have 24,000. Am I doing that math right? Yeah, 6,000, 24,000 credits, and in a week, typically you only get like 11,000. So
Unless you get the pro bundle.
that's how they get you. No, but it is a good system for newer players to obtain cards that they want faster. Because in 1 week they could have none of the cards, right? And they could get 3 new cards just by using 3 keys, or 2 new cards and a random other card. So it's a good system for new players. Now, for players that like us, where we almost have full collections, it's getting kind of dicey to be like, oh, should I skip this week? Because I don't want to skip the week because I just want to get the cards so it's in my collection. Yeah. Now, having to take your chance in like a 1 in 4, it's kind of sucks because not all the time are the spotlight variants really good. And you're just like, oh, well, I got another spotlight variant, or I get 1,000 tokens. So I don't know. I feel like if you do pull a spotlight variant, you should still get 1,000 tokens, and then if you get the other one, you should get 2,000 tokens.
I like that.
Because
that's a good balance.
Yeah, the spotlight variants not all the time are the best, and you've already spent either tokens or keys to get the original card. So second dinner, throw us a bone,
I think I should get 10,000 tokens every week, just because.
Okay. Split it with me?
Okay. And why?
Because I said so.
There you go. That's the attitude we want. But I don't know. I feel like this system is going to be, it's cool. And I'm for it coming back around, having its anniversary, and getting the spotlights I missed, because that tribunal, that the null. So I can't wait to purchase those.
How you can get those spotlights when they come back? Are they going to be in a spotlight thing, or is it kind of like we talked about the last time, where it was going to be a token? Did they say anything at all?
They mentioned maybe in the shop, but do you think they're worth 1,200? Maybe a little bit more?
Probably more.
I would think, because I mean, it kind of devalues opening spotlights, right? Because if you think about it, I'm just gonna go. Okay, let me go here. I'm gonna show you guys real quick. So if it takes about 3,000 to get, or 6,000 credits to get one spotlight key, and that spotlight key could get you a spotlight variant, then that means 6,000. So that would be multiplied by 4. So this would be 4,800 gold. 4,800 gold. Oh God, I don't want to give second dinner.
Too damn high.
Yeah, I don't want to give second dinner any
Yeah. You better pump the
Ideas.
brakes on that one, Big
Yeah.
G.
So that means a spotlight, variant could be worth about $50+.
Oh hell no.
So I don't know. That's just what the math equates it to, right? So but that's like they're giving you plus $50 a week because you're getting about those 6,000 credits plus a week, right? So I don't know. That's just how the math works in their economy. Now, do I think their economy is right? No, of course not. Especially now with the bundles that they're releasing now, they don't equal the dollar amount that you spend in it, right? Like if I'm playing your game, microtransactions is where it should be at. It shouldn't be like, oh, just because I downloaded your game for free, I have to keep buying your game for $50 for every bundle, right? That I like. I'm not going to say every bundle is correct, but there are bundles that we have passed because of the cost of it. So, I don't know. And we talk about this a lot. But they need a change. That's why. It's too much. Too much. We already give you 15 for the gold daily and the monthly season pass. Now, you guys are doing the gold too,
Yes.
right? Okay, of course. It's a good bang for the buck, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
So
It's too good.
yeah, way too good. I'm glad they introduced it. It's a way to accrue another way to accrue in-game currency, which is pretty good. Just have to be patient. So, is there anything else you guys want to add before we end the show?
No. I mean, other than the fact that we've been trying to hit the memes big, so please go follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. Our boy over here, Dakota, has been on fire recently. Well, hold on, wait. There we go. Has been on fire recently. He is just crushing it. So, get in there, like, share, subscribe, do it all.
Yes, to add on that. So Instagram, we are Cubed the Marvel Snap Podcast, and then on TikTok, we are Cubed Marvel Snap, and then anything else, just search at ggMarcLee on YouTube, Twitch. That's where you'll find all that the videos that you guys can watch. Other than that, anything you want to end with, Dakota?
Oh, again, I just wanted to reiterate, just thank you guys for watching and just checking us out in the first place. It's been awesome, like actually having people comment on things and having little conversations back and forth. It's been funny to see the community of this game. Everyone's equally frustrated. Everyone's equally excited, and it's just fun to just hop on this game together in a community. So it's cool that us three, Mark, Don, and I, we all get to just hang out and talk about a game that we love so much, and it's fun that people care about what we have to say too. So just a big thank you for everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. With a big thank you, we will see you guys in the next episode of Cubed, the Marvel Snap Podcast. Have a good night.
Avito say bye bye.